Hi, I'm Chef Marshall O'Brien. I'm going to show you how you can be safe and efficient in the kitchen using your knives and cutting boards. For starters, you want to make sure that your cutting board is not sliding around. An easy, simple solution, just take a damp paper towel, put it underneath, and now it won't slide around. You can also get a little rubber mat to put it underneath, whatever's best for you. But this is critical because when you're cutting and it's slipping, you're not safe and you won't be efficient. Here I have a cutting board made from a composite material that's non-porous. In general, you want to have a non-porous cutting surface that's easy to clean. Now let's talk about handling your knife. You want to make sure, for starters, that you have a strong and sturdy knife. You don't have to have an expensive knife, but just make sure that it's sturdy. And as you can see here, this is very sturdy. You also want to make sure that the way you hold the knife, just as I'm doing here, because as this will help you cut properly, be more efficient, and be more safe. So I'm choked up on the knife. What you don't want to do is be standing like this, as oftentimes people are doing. So don't be like this. Choke up. Now, you might be wondering, how do I sharpen my knife? Let's take a carrot. And one way is you can keep it sharp, but then I'm going to show you how to sharpen it. After you've cut some vegetables or whatever, we want to clear our cutting board, right? Well, the tendency we have is to take our knife and listen up. Ooh, what do you hear? You hear your knife dulling when it scrapes across your cutting board like that. So instead of scraping your knife across, just flip it upside down and you can slide it away. That's really easy. Now, to keep your knife sharp or to sharpen it, you want to have the following tools. This is one of many kinds of sharpening. This is the sharpening steel, but there's sharpening stones. There's also other devices to help sharpen, but this works great and it's inexpensive. You are going to have your knife at a 45-degree angle, give or take, and you're going to slide down straight across down through towards your waist, just like this. And you're going to alternate even and odd swipes. So you might do 3 slices, 1, 2, 3, and then go on the other side with the same angle, but do an even count, 1, 2. You can hold it like this, and if you have a sharpening stone, you're going to have a different angle. But the idea is you want to create a sharp edge. So you have your sharpening rod do that. Now this is a honing steel, which looks sort of like the sharpening steel, but it's different. Where this will help just keep your knife sharp. And if your knife is dull, then you need to get it sharpened. So same kind of principle, but we're gonna just do alternating strokes. And you'll notice that I have the knife at a 45-degree angle, give or take, and just pull down towards your waist. Make sure to keep your hands behind the safety, whether it's your sharpening steel or it's on your honing steel. Otherwise, you'll get your fingers nicked, and that doesn't feel good. Now, I just showed you some really simple ways that you can be safe and efficient in the kitchen so you can make the most out of your cooking experience. Hi, I'm Chef Marshall O'Brien. I'm going to show you which knives that you should consider having so that you can be efficient and safe in your kitchen. Also, I'm going to show you what equipment can help you save considerable amount of time when you're prepping. For starters, we want to have the cook's knife, also known as a chef knife or a French knife. And there's also different kinds of knives that are shaped sort of like this. It might be the Japanese Santoku knife, but they all do the same thing. These are your workhorse of a knife in the kitchen. This can slice, dice, chop. You can use it for onions and peppers and any kind of hearty produce, any kind of meats. But this is the kind of knife that is really going to do a lot of your heavy cutting and chopping for you. The second knife that you want to have is a serrated knife. And the serrated knife has these little teeth on it so that it can catch whatever it's cutting to make easy, convenient slices. This is great for slicing tomatoes, for slicing bread, for slicing meats. If you have a sharp cook's knife, oftentimes you can get away with using when you would normally use a serrated knife. But definitely have a serrated knife. The third knife that you want to have is a utility knife, or also known as a paring knife. They are different knives, but they tend to get clumped in as under one category. This is great for trimming and peeling. My recommendation, if you don't have a cook's knife and you're only cutting with a paring knife or utility knife, get a cook's knife because you'll be a lot more efficient and you'll be much more safe. But as I said, your cook's knife, your serrated knife, and your utility knife or paring knife, those are the three main knives that you want to have in your kitchen. There are some appliances that can help you save time in the kitchen because they can take the place of knives. And I have two examples right here. I've got a blender and I have a food processor. Now the nice thing about having a blender, and you don't have to have a super fancy blender, but something basic. It can help you blend for smoothies, for soups, any kind of chopping, slicing, dicing that you want, really small pieces. A blender can do just that and more. And with the food processor, you can do a lot that the blender can do and even more. You can shred, you can grate, and this is great for cheeses, for cabbages, for carrots, for radishes, for any kind of hard vegetables that you have, or hard cheeses and things like that. There's even an S blade made out of rubber for kneading dough, so if you wanted to make dough in your processor. But these are two examples of appliances that can help you be more efficient in the kitchen when you got those extra heavy-duty jobs that you have to do. Hi, I'm Chef Marshall O'Brien. I'm going to show you different cut styles that can help you do your best in the kitchen. First, we're going to start with the slice. We're going to slice some carrots and peppers and some strawberries and cantaloupe. And again, I'm just showing you the technique so that you can do this with ease. Using your cook's knife, we're going to take some carrots, and I want you to have a rocking motion with this. So you're going to push the knife away from you. And you notice that I'm using my guiding hand, my non-knife hand, as a guide. So now we're going to take our carrots, and so then you're going to just push the knife away from you, pull it and push it like a rocking motion while you're slicing. And it might be a little awkward at first, but after doing it a few times, it's very easy. Now we're going to slice the pepper, and I'm going to show you a new technique for cutting, and this is going to be called the draw. Very, very easy. You're going to have the knife out away from you and pull it towards you, just like this. So now we have two halves of peppers, and I'm just taking out the webbing. And now to make strips, and this is like a slice, I'm going to pull the knife towards me, and I'm using my knuckles as a guide, having your thumb and pinky tucked in. I'm going to slice strawberries using the rocking motion. And as you see, I'm pushing the knife away and pulling it back. I have my fingers tucked in, using my knuckles as a guide so that I don't cut my fingertips. And now I'm going to slice the cantaloupe. I'm going to use the draw technique to slice the cantaloupe. And again, I'm always using my guiding knuckles, and I have my fingers curled in. I'm going to chunk and dice pineapple. First, cut off the tops and bottoms. Now we're going to cut two slices down the middle to have 4 sections. And now we have 4 quarters, and we're going to slice out the core. Now we're going to cut a couple slices down running parallel with the length of the piece of pineapple. Now we're going to run perpendicular, cutting to the skin, but not through the skin. And I'm using my knuckles as a guide. Next, we're going to make one cut, rotate, make another cut. Now we have some diced pineapple here, and we're going to cut the rest. Now we have diced pineapple. So maybe you just want a chunk pineapple, and that's totally cool too. We'll take one of our quarters, cut out the core, and then we can either make small chunks or big chunks. We'll make small chunks. I'm going to run one cut down to the skin, but not through the skin, and use my knuckles as a guide. And then run parallel with my knife, slice down. And now we have chunks of pineapple. I'm going to slice and dice an onion. First, start by cutting it in half. I'm going to peel off the dead skin. Make slices 3/4 of the way through the onion. I'm going to make one cut on top, not all the way through, and it's still intact. And then we're going to slice to make diced pieces of onions. And now I'm going to show you how to dice a sweet potato. Again, the point is showing you the technique so that you can do this efficiently in your kitchen. I have a sweet potato that's been peeled already. I'm going to cut one side of it off so that we have a flat area to work with so it's safe and sturdy when I'm cutting. Because sweet potatoes are really dense, that's very important. Now it's sturdy. And I'm going to make cuts to make planks. Now we're going to take these planks and we're going to slice just like this. And now we're going to do it again. And that's how you can dice items like a sweet potato. I'm going to chop cabbage and red peppers. Now, chop means to cut into small or big pieces. They're not uniform, and it's really, really easy to do. So first we'll start with the cabbage. I'm using just a downward motion, pressing slightly away from myself, using my fingers, my knuckles as a guide. And then I'm just going to chop the rest of it up. I'm putting my hand on top as a guide. Cut that up. And that's how you chop cabbage. Really simple. Now let's chop up the bell pepper. First, I'll use that draw cut, pulling towards myself to open the pepper. I'm going to remove the seeds, take out the webbing. I'm going to initially make a couple slices, and then I'm just going to chop it up. Put my hand on top, and there you go. And when you chop, keep your hand on top so your hand's safe, and you can keep the tip of your knife on the cutting board. And that's how you can chop. And now I'm going to chop up some kiwi, but first I'm going to show you one cool way that you can peel it. Start by cutting off the ends. Then you're going to take your knife and run it parallel with the cutting board, just like this, and roll the kiwi. And if you have a flexible knife, like a fillet knife, that will work even better. And then you're going to want to just clean some of that skin off. But now we have our kiwi. I'll make some initial slices, and now I'm just going to chop it up. And you'll notice how I have my hand on top, or you can use your knuckles as a guide and do the same principle. Keep your tip of your knife on the cutting board while you make that up and down chop. Let's do the same thing with raspberries. We're just going to do a rough chop for those. Now you know how to slice, dice, and chop with confidence. Hi, I'm Chef Marshall O'Brien. I'm going to show you how you can skin a filet and portion it, how you can cut up a chicken, and how you can cut steaks from a roast. So let's start with the fish. First, we're going to take our whole filet, and I have a salmon here. And we need to get a starting point at the tail end. So I'm going to carefully, and I'm using a fillet knife, a flexible knife, but it needs to be a sharp knife. And I'm going to cut in, try to get underneath the skin. And once I've gotten underneath, as you can see here, I'm then going to take a towel and hold on to that. And I'm going to start inching my way down the salmon once I have a good grip. And I'm going to kind of pull on the skin and just hug the knife parallel with my cutting board. And now I've cut through. So now you can see we've got that whole skin cut. Now we've removed the skin. You certainly don't have to do this, but if you desire. I'm now going to show you how you can make portions. And you want to have maybe a 3 to 5 ounce portion, depending on the size of the person who's eating it. But so you can take your hand as a guide. So I'm going to start with over here. I'm going to cut. And use the draw technique where you have the knife out away from you and pull it towards you. And that's how you can portion fish and skin it. I'm going to show you now how you can make steaks out of this roast like I have here. You can save a couple dollars because you are doing the work rather than somebody else. You want to have a slicer knife like I have here. And then we're going to make gentle slices back and forth for our steaks. Figure you want 1 to 2 finger lengths thick for your steaks. And you're using a slicing motion when you do this. And now you have steaks. I'm going to show you how you can cut up a whole chicken. When you cut a chicken up yourself instead of buying it already cut, you can save yourself a couple dollars, and this is very easy to do. First, you want to have your cook's knife, or your chef knife, or your French knife. Same thing, but it's a sturdy, strong knife. We're going to make an incision down the breastplate. Follow the breastplate, I should say. I'm going to turn the chicken around and cut through. So now we've just butterflied the chicken. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to flip it over so it's insides down. Press down a little bit. And now I'm going to cut along the sides of the spine. And you need to put some force into this. And so I cut down one side, and I'm now going to cut down the other side. Now we have the breast and the leg still connected, so I'm going to cut that. You can discard this piece. Now we're going to cut the thigh and the leg apart. And when you cut through this, you want to cut at the joint so it's easy to cut through. Just like that. We'll take our wing and we'll separate it from the breast. And again, find that joint. I'll do it again. If you have to cut a little bit of the skin off, that's okay. So we have 2 breasts, we have 2 wings, we have 2 legs, and we have 2 thighs. This is very easy to cut up, and like I said, it's going to save you a couple dollars in the process. I just showed you how you can skin a fish fillet and portion it, how you can cut steaks from a roast, and how you can cut up a chicken into 8 pieces. The food processor is a fantastic appliance because it can help you save a lot of time in the kitchen. I'm going to show you first using the slicing blade how we can quickly cut up some cucumbers. We are going to shred cabbage and red peppers. And now we're going to chop using the S blade. We're going to chop big, starting with some onions, and then we're going to chop it up really small so it's a mince. And I'm going to pulse it so that I can have control over the size as it chops. And now I'm going to add garlic, and we're going to chop it up more and then just finely mince it. Our other appliance is the blender. The blender can puree and finely grind, whereas the food processor can't. And so this is a great piece of equipment to have in your kitchen. You can make soups and sauces and smoothies, and that's what I'm going to demonstrate right now. I have strawberries, bananas, some blueberries, some honey, yogurt, and a little bit of water, and we're going to put it in and make a delicious smoothie.